Hello, I'm Simon Whistler. You're watching the Today I Found Out YouTube channel, and in the video today we're looking at why we call our parents mum, or in the case of Americans, mom, and dad instead of their actual names. Just before we get started, I do want to say that because we're digging into the etymology of these words, I am going to be saying the American version of mum, which is mom. Just clarifying things for our British audience, I would normally say mum. Just for this video, I'm going to say mom. It's just how it is. So calling our parents anything other than mom, dad, or one of the many variations thereof is an almost alien concept to many, and in some cultures, it's considered downright rude. So why is it that we refer to our parents in this way? Where did it come from? And perhaps more curiously, is there any culture that forgoes this seemingly universal nickname custom for parental figures? The words can be traced to the 1500s for dad and to the 1800s for mom. As with many etymologies, where these words were first uttered and by whom is a mystery. Even the Oxford English Dictionary has admitted that they have no evidence on where the word dad originated. The word mom, on the other hand, is a slightly different story, and it's widely believed that the word was born from the much older word mama, which itself can be traced back to the 1500s in English. This, in turn, can be traced back to the Latin mama, meaning breast or teat. From this word, we got the word mammalia and later mammal to describe animals that suckle their young. And this brings us to the rather amazing part. A word similar to mom occurs almost in every language on Earth. We don't mean that there is a word for mom in every language, we mean that the word mom is shockingly similar across nearly all of the most commonly spoken languages on Earth. For example, if you wanted to address your mother in Dutch, you'd say moeder. If you were traveling to Germany, on the other hand, you'd call her Mutter, while all over Italy you'd refer to her as madre. Now, we know what you're thinking, all of these are European countries, but let's mix things up a little and look at some more, shall we say, exotic languages from an English speaker's point of view. And let me apologize ahead of time if I get any of these wrong pronunciation-wise. Chinese, mama; Hindi, mam; Afrikaans, ma; ancient Egyptian, mut; Swahili, mama. So, as you can clearly see from this list, there's a very peculiar trend with mom in various languages in that it's nearly universally pronounced with an M sound. If you're still not convinced or think that we perhaps cherry-picked some examples here, we're going to link in the description to a pretty exhaustive list of ways that mother can be said in a number of languages, and you feel free to peruse that at your leisure. There are exceptions here, of course, our favorite of which is nuke from the Mapamzugan language. As for the word dad, while there certainly is more variation in the ways to address your man-mum in foreign languages, similar trends can be observed. For example, the word papa is present in several languages, including Russian, Hindi, Spanish, and English, while slight variations on it appear in German, papi; Icelandic, papi; Swedish, papa, and a number of other languages across the globe. Likewise, in Turkish, Greek, Swahili, Malay, and several other languages, the word for dad is baba, or a variation of it. The current working theory to explain this fascinating phenomenon is that the words parents use to refer to themselves are derived from the babblings of their child during its baby talk phase. It has been observed that babies, regardless of where in the world they're born, naturally learn to make the same few sounds as they begin to learn to speak. It has also been noted that during the babbling stage, babies will create what is known as proto-words by combining nonsensical combinations of consonants and vowels. The really interesting part about these proto-words is that they're consistent across different cultures for reasons that aren't quite clear. The words babies make in this early babbling stage tend to use the softer consonants like B, P, and M, often leading to the creation of otherwise non-words like baba, papa, and mama by the child in question. It's further hypothesized that as these are often the first sounds babies are able to make consistently, parents came to use them to refer to themselves, which explains why words like mama, papa, dada, tata, and baba are present in so many languages as a way of addressing one's parents. It's usually less complex to say than parents' real names and works as a substitute that ultimately sticks. As for why the ma sound in derivations like mama came to be assigned to women instead of men, it's generally thought that it is derived from the sound babies make while suckling or feeding. It's noted that the only sound a baby can really make while its mouth is full symbol of his or her mother's life-giving bosom is a slight nasal murmur or a repeated M sound. Further, when the baby is hungry and sees the object of its foodie desires, it's not uncommon for the baby to, as linguist Roman Jacobson put it, reproduce it as an anticipatory signal. While no one can prove this is how mom and its predecessor mama came about, it would at least explain why there is an almost universal trend of the word for mother in varying languages utilizing the M and often ma sound. There is no such precise theory for why the word dad was specifically chosen, presumably from dada, but this lack of good reason to assign dada to male parents over other variations like papa, tata, baba, etc. is perhaps why there is such variation on this one in terms of which repeated consonant is used to go along with the A's in a given culture. So now we come to the question of whether there's any culture in which this nicknaming practice isn't observed. There are certainly examples of cultures that don't adhere to the idea of a nuclear family, but as far as applying similar types of nicknames to parental figures, well, not really. At least as far as we could find, and we're usually very good at this sort of thing and spend more hours than we care to admit trying to find the obligatory exception. But if you happen to be an anthropologist or just someone who knows different and you know of an exception where children don't commonly give their parental figures, whether truly their biological parents or not, some sort of nickname, please do let us know in the comments below. We here at Today I Found Out we came up empty on it, which makes us a little uncomfortable as there seemingly is always at least one exception somewhere for just about any issue. This only leaves us wondering whether this is the exception to the rule that there's always an exception. So I really hope you found that video interesting. If you did, please do hit that thumbs up button below and don't forget to subscribe for brand new videos just like this every day of the week. I'd also like to thank our patrons on Patreon. If you're interested in helping us out here at Today I Found Out with a small monthly contribution, please do consider heading over to patreon.com/TodayIFoundOut. There's also a link on the screen. Loads of great perks for people who support us as well, so please go check that out. And as always, thank you for watching.